And so one of the things that you and I have discussed, and we've also discussed with Dan Offerman here in the last year, is really kind of bringing in, now that we have so many other divisions and acquisitions that have agencies as well, bringing those in under one umbrella, with Insured Solutions leading, the ability to go out and sell and bring these products together, and Dan Offerman's group, really just taking the administration and the back office piece of it, consolidating it, right? So everybody has plenty of markets to sell to, right? That we don't silo each of these agencies, because you have a set of markets and so does the next guy and the next guy. And if we pull those together, that really gives everybody much more ability to write in several different areas.
Welcome to Insurance Shoptalk. This is the podcast where the world of commercial insurance gets a little closer to home. I'm your host, Eric Stein, and in every episode, we're taking a deep dive into the insurance industry. From the latest news and trends to in-depth interviews with insurtech experts, carriers, and agency newsmakers, we're covering it all. So sit back, tune in, and let's start the conversation. All right, guys, today we've got Kara Childress with VensureHR. Really excited to have Kara on. I've known her quite a while now, and I can't believe I finally talked her into getting on the podcast with us. But Kara, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Eric. And yes, we have known each other for a while. And when you said that, it just makes me think of all the different memories and trips and things we've done together over the years.
Absolutely. And you're one of the fun ones, so that's good to have a C-level, person in there, and insurance to be fun is always a good thing.
Well, I appreciate that. Accounting and finance is usually not the fun person, but I try to relax every once in a while.
Exactly. So basically, Kara, I wanted to have you on to address the phenomenal growth that's happening at Vensure right now under your leadership, and Alex Campos, the CEO, and also congratulate you on your new role as president of Vensure. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
As you know, our audience are property and casualty insurance agents, PEO brokers. We also have, CSRs and account managers that are always interested in learning about everything new that's happening in the industry with markets and so on. But why don't you kind of go into a little bit about your background and, your new role as the president and of Vensure, and sort of some of those goals too.
Sure, absolutely. So, I've been in the PEO industry for almost nearly my whole career. I started as a CPA in public accounting, actually in the early 90s, 93. And one of my first clients was a staff leasing client. And so, back in the day before it became PEO, staff leasing was the term out there in the industry. And so that's kind of really how I cut my teeth. From there, I was connected with a client that was in property and casualty insurance. So I got to know more than just PEO. I now got myself exposed to workers' comp insurance. We also had general liability. We had auto, non-standard auto, just full P&C breadth. And we really tried to bundle those products for the clients, through their payroll, which was really nice. So on their payroll, they could even get almost like a PEPM fee for all these insurance products, very similar to how we do workers' comp and PAYGO today. That was back really in the mid 2000s that I really heavily got involved in that. And then I met Vensure really through the property and casualty insurance company I was with. And I was at my CPA firm at the time, and Alex had asked me, hey, would I, consider being the audit firm for Vensure? So we came on as the audit firm for a couple years, and then I was doing a lot of consulting with Vensure as well, and they quickly said, hey, you've got a lot of depth and breadth to not just accounting and finance, but a lot of operational experience and a lot of know-how in insurance and insurance-related products. And so he asked me to join full-time in 2016. So I've actually been with Vensure now a little over 8 years, almost 8.5 now. But really, my experience in a lot of the areas kind of really paved the way for me taking the president role, because I do have a vision, and you and I have talked about this before. There's a lot of products out there on the insurance side that we don't currently bundle together or offer to the clients that I think we're missing out on, right? There are things we can do for the clients that make them more sticky, have more hooks in them, so they understand that they can come to us for really nearly everything. And, the agents you work with out there, of course, would have a commission or compensation with that, that we can, work together for them to bring their clients in and know that like everything's taken care of and that there's more products that they can offer that can go together and we could serve that.
Absolutely. Then, and then through Insurance Solutions Division would be able to compensate that agent with commission on all products placed as if they did it, with their own markets. And again, they could just always compare that, is this the best product as far as, the package lines or auto, that we're offering, and then weigh that against their own markets and decide, hey, it'd be nice to have this all as bundled together. Or, clients love consolidating the vendor, just the way the PEO model works. So the more vendors we can get with insurance would be the best,
No, absolutely. And really kind of to point out, Insurance Solutions was our acquisition number 2. And we do number them. And so, back in 2017, we saw the vision you had. You had a PEO, but you also had a really well-established MGA that worked with other brokers and that really understood insurance and other products of things that we could offer to clients. And so one of the things that you and I've discussed, and we've also discussed with Dan Offerman here in the last year, is really kind of bringing in, now that we have so many other divisions and acquisitions that have agencies as well, bringing those in under one umbrella with Insured Solutions leading, the ability to go out and sell and bring these products together, and Dan Offerman's group, really just taking the administration and the back office piece of it, consolidating it, right? So everybody has plenty of markets to sell to, right? That we don't silo each of these agencies, because you have a set of markets and so does the next guy and the next guy. And if we pull those together, that really gives everybody much more ability to write in several different areas.
Absolutely.
So that's something that we've been working on.
And I was speaking, I think that when I spoke to Dan and Joe Shaughnessy with Insurance Solutions, they were mentioning, I think now the total premium with all the different divisions, the agencies, the PEO programs, ASO, PH, all the different, programs, that we're close to like $1 billion with a B, in premium now. So Dan's talking about taking the power of that premium and really trying to attract some other programs and carriers, and during this consolidation phase of the agency side, to really, hit home for agents and give them some really good pricing and really good opportunities at markets that maybe they don't have access to.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of large volume and just buying power when you get that big is incredible. When you think about you as an individual PEO, back prior, several years ago, and all these others, you're very limited, right? As to how many carriers will talk to you, how many carriers will consider you. And the fact that we've brought it all together, and Dan has done a tremendous job of really pulling all that together. And that's where I think we can really take all of this to the next level, because we are seeing the ability now with our buying power, because of the large volume, of really being attractive to a lot of different carriers out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And then, from a operational perspective, with Dan's experience in the underwriting and pricing and just the organization of getting all the different agencies on the same page, as far as, the same management system, the same service model, would really help with our agents too, to have consistency with the service and operational side at the end of the day. Because like everyone right now, we're just all on our own, like you said, silos. And so bringing it all together, I think, is going to be, very powerful at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the things we do on the PEO, or what we call the direct side of the business, is, I don't need payroll processors individually siloed out there. They all need to be together under one department, so that then you learn from each other, you get more efficiencies, you have, just failover redundancy systems, right? If some person's out, then another person can cover. And I think that's really where we're trying to go with this side of it too, right? Is to be able to give your agents and Insured Solutions the ability to know that you've got plenty of administration and back office support, so that, again, if your one account manager's out, it shouldn't really matter, right? We have plenty to cover all the clients or potential clients, prospects, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And then, I didn't really, but having Stone Point Capital behind you and having that, they have a vast insurance background. They've owned AmTrust, Vertifor, they've had ownership in all these, insurance related entities. How do you feel like that's going to help in terms of the growth for you and Vensure in general?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Bringing Stone Point to the table for us and them investing into Vensure was just a huge game changer. It just took us to the next level that we needed in order to not only just have the expertise, but also the ability for us to have the right backing large enough to where we could take where we were at to the next level in all facets of our business. I mean, when we look back to 2021 compared to today, the growth is unbelievable, crazy. And now, we're not just what we used to be, which was just a PEO, an ASO shop. We have now all these insurance related agencies and products that we can offer. We have HRO technology. We also have BPO outsourcing and global payroll. So what we've done is said, okay, if we just stay as just a PEO, that's all we're ever going to be able to be, right? But truly, your clients, your agents' clients, in this society today, in the economy we live today, and post-COVID, what's happened is all these small and medium-sized businesses around the US have a lot of needs for resources. They have needs for technology. They have needs for insurance products. And it's so different today post-COVID because we've all realized that when we went home to work, we could work with other employees that are located anywhere. And because we had such very low unemployment and then kind of the quiet quitting that happened after COVID in the US, we all were desperate to have resources help us get our jobs done. And so what that's done is it's opened up the doors for us to really go what we call nearshore, which would be our South America, employees, where they can be on your team, they're on your email, and they can be part of you as a company and organization. That's helped us, but that's also going to help, can help your agents, your clients to really give stability, right? So we had to think outside the box that, look, clients today, they know and understand that they're not limited to just what's down the street from them anymore, right? I mean, I'm sure several of your agents have clients that are not located in the town they're in or the state they're in because people move, but they like you. They like Eric, they like Joe. And so they want to keep working with you. When my agent has left personally, right? I don't care that they moved somewhere that's not in my, 15 minutes down the street. I like them well enough and they've worked for Allstate forever. That's who I stayed with, right? So this world looks different that we're in today, and we understand that. So we didn't want to just put ourselves in just the PEO. And what Stone Point's allowed us to do is really help us grow. And their expertise in insurance is right, like you said. I mean, they understand. I can have a conversation with them and they understand,
Right.
oh, we've got a referral for that.
Versus
We have
traditional BC banking that just knows general business. You've got an insurance centric PE
specialty.
firm,
Yeah,
yeah, which is really
for
valuable.
sure.
'Cause I
And it's
saw you
very
guys
helpful.
struggle in the past,
That's
so.
right. And they do a really good job actually of connecting us with all of their portfolio companies. So to your point, the AmTrust, the Vertifors, um, they are they are the ones that, they're connecting us. Hey, I need this, we need that. They have several agents and agencies that they work with as well. So the ability to say, hey, we have a need or our client has a need, we have a lot of resources to go to.
And then you guys had some huge transactions in the last couple of years with namely with Prism. Can you kind of
Yes,
go into that, like what the new direction is, kind
sure.
of in a way, like picking up those sort of, humongous deals?
Yeah, so I mentioned it in terms of technology, but one of the things we realized is just being Vensure PEO is that we did not own our own technology, right? We use Prism, they're the best in the industry, hands down. There's nothing else out there that compares to managing PEOs and the state regulatory requirements, and that all goes with that regulation, right?
Right.
And so, us and Prism coming together made a lot of sense. Gary Nook at Prism and Alex had been talking for years about one day they should do a transaction together. It made sense. We're their largest client. They're our largest vendor. So if we go to the next private equity, they're going to say, you have one big hole, and that is you don't own your own tech. So if something happens to Prism, you have no tech. So that's a big concern, right? You know, nobody wants to feel like they're one egg, which we all did back in the day, with workers' comp, right? You had one carrier, right? So this is no different. So us coming together in 2022 has been a game changer. You know, Prism and Vensure, we've always worked really well together, but what it allowed us to do is to make sure that we were steering our future, that we were, but at the same time, we're helping all the other Prism clients as well, because all the technology they're building, and along with that came the next step, which, okay, we have this great PEO software, but what about all our ASO clients? What about the HCM world, which is that next medium and mid-sized market? What happens when they outgrow PEO? Where do we take them? And that's why we acquired Namely. I mean, Namely has a great household brand, but Namely had a great platform, and it was a platform that we could start with. And I've heard people say it's a really sexy front end. I don't know if I've seen it or I could call it sexy, but that's what they called it. But that was the next step and the next logical step to say, we got to own our own HCM platform. We got to be able to take these clients from payroll only to PEO to HCM. As they grow, we need to be able to grow with them. Otherwise, as you know, they'll leave you. They got too big. They couldn't stay with you. You didn't have the right technology. They want to do their own. It becomes too expensive, for them as they grow to be in, pigeonholed into one area. And so that's what Namely has done for us. And we've recently rolled out the Prism HCM. Excuse me, Alex is calling me right now. Let me just send him a message. That happens sometimes, or every day.
That was a lot.
I'm sorry. Oh, it happens a lot. That's exactly right. And so just naturally, being able to get into the HCM space, we've since done another acquisition that's an HCM, ExecuPay as well. And that's a great platform. I'm getting a lot of great feedback, but we're launching the Prism HCM platform. And internally, some of our venture clients, we've already converted them over. So as they continue to finish modules in that, we actually took Namely and WorkLogic EPS and formed Prism HCM. And so, yes, the Namely platform was huge for us. It was, mainly the platform that we knew was going to help us build that HCM lane that we needed.
That's fantastic. And then, back over to the payroll side a little bit. I know, more recently you're starting to look more at doing international payroll and setting up a division for that as the US client starts to expand. You want to kind of touch on the goals there and what you're up to with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, just in the natural evolution of, we're not just a PEO. Now we don't just own our own technology and the clients can grow, but really going back to most companies today do get to the point where they want to go international, or they have a need or desire to go international, even if it's Mexico or Canada, right? But we had one of our clients that needed 5 salespeople in Spain. They were going to be boots on the ground in Spain. So if we had not gone into the international space, what's going to happen is we're going to tell that client, we're sorry, we'll have to refer you out to somebody in Spain that can hire those employees for you. And then after they hire 5 employees in Spain, they're going to see whatever they needed. Maybe they need it in another country now as well. Maybe it's in Germany, wherever it might be. Maybe it's in Italy. And eventually your US base that has all these different needs for other countries, and let's say they have 2 or 3 or 4 countries, there's plenty of global companies out there that process in the US as well. And so what will happen is they will come and take your client because we only process US payroll. And, Alex has always had the vision that we weren't just going to do US. We have a few platform acquisitions we've done in Canada already. I think, WePay and Canadian Payroll Services. And so, and the nice thing is that, the US is really the most complicated of the tax structure. So if you can conquer the US, you can conquer the other countries. The most complicated about foreign countries is their compliance and benefit pieces. And so you get expertise and subject matter experts in those countries, which is what we've done. So we've started expanding internationally into several countries. We're in about 30 countries today. I think we have the intent to be in about 55 by the end of the year. But again, for Insured Solutions, your agents, your CSRs, you are there to, to help service your clients. And as soon as that client says, hey, I need, by the way, I'm trying to go hire somebody in Spain, you're now going to have the ability to say, not a problem. We can connect you with our international payroll, our global payroll. So I think that's
It's so
really
funny. Right when you told me that it just happened, like, you know how that goes, like when you learn something new and then it literally just happened on a temp staffing account that specializes like in electrical, commercial electricians with one of my agents, sent it in and they, on the Accord, they did have one person that resides in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so he needed to have it all wrapped into one, so it was so cool to be able to actually answer that because he's like, hey, how are we going to handle this? He had no idea,
That's right.
they've never done international, insurance. So
Exactly. So, I mean, most companies, like I said, eventually they come across the need. And we want you guys to be able to have all the tools you need. There's too many global payroll companies out there now, again, that process in the US as well, that's really now your competitor. And so if we need to grow with you and we need to be able to provide those resources for you.
PNC agents, have you run into Byberg, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company quoting workers' comp for either your prospects or clients? Well, great news. Insured Solutions, a national MGA, has an appointment that is set up to allow you to quote, bind, and service Byberg at your agency. And the coverage is in all states. It's A-rated. Startups are even accepted. There's $125,000 maximum premium. And some of the tough industries they write are construction, transportation that includes towing and parcel delivery, manufacturing, security guards that are armed and unarmed, motor mediation, and many more. So go to our website at insuredsolutions.net, click the Get Appointed link. We'll get you logins for you and your team and can set up a webinar for training if you'd like. Also, feel free to email info@insuredsolutions.net and I can handle the submission myself, or call 770-402-5343. Be glad to speak to you and give you more detail. Thanks. Makes sense. While we're on that staffing model, like what I was mentioning, because I know Vensure cut its teeth. I remember back in the day, it started out more prior to Alex being really as involved as he is now, as being known for, offering PEO and ASO models for the temporary staffing businesses and industry. And then now that's become even more of a big, a big offering. It's not the only offering like it used to be almost. Now you guys have spread it out, but, tell me a little bit about that Staffing Alliance division and sort of when Brian and Lee and what they're heading up there.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, Vensure really grew up in the staffing industry. We were the PEO for staffing companies. That was our primary light industrial, blue collar staffing companies. That's really what we provided.
It's hard to place. It's very hard to place, as you know.
It's very hard to place, and they have a need, mainly workers' comp, but we had a solution and had built a lot of technology to really provide for that. And the carriers were very, very comfortable because we could see all the way down to the staffing client's location, which is super important. And so you've got all that transparency. We built a bunch of technology around that. So what Brian and Lee and that team and even Matt Kaplan have been able to do is they're taking that, and we have a staffing alliance lane that is completely dedicated to placing staffing. We actually even have an operational support pod that is for the staffing lane as well. So, our payroll processors, our benefit administrators for ACA and things like that, our tax and our client relations, they're all there and understand, and they work together on all the staffing clients. And so what Brian and Lee have done is really, really, I mean, they're at ASA, they're at Staffing World, they're really there to focus on that lane because it's really how we were born, right? I mean, we were specialized with it so much. When Vensure first started, you'd never want to, just throw it away. There's definitely the need is there. It hasn't gone away. And I think sometimes in certain economic times, employers do tend to go to that staffing model very quickly, right? They want that temporary staffing worker because it can be temporary for them. And so, there's a need for that. So, that's something that Brian really has a passion for and Lee Castine does as well. And they do a phenomenal job in selling it, understanding it, making sure that people know that we have it and that we've got great technology around it, but they can get great workers' comp pricing and, so that they can continue. That's what's most hard for staffing companies is can't go out and get your own policy without needing a bunch of upfront cash for collateral and being able to take on a decent deductible. So your premium is not just, through the roof.
Right. And I remember hearing a little bit from Brian in a meeting recently that you could even handle some back office pieces and kind of integrate with their own internal billing and payroll software very easily. I know I'm not a huge staffing, expert like Brian, but there's one or two huge systems in that industry, and you guys are already dialed into literally linking in and handling a lot of different variables that can help that temp agency not, totally have to just completely turn off their internal systems, be able to work with you.
Yeah, that's right. And so Matt Kaplan actually is the one who really leads up Sunset Cove, and they do that. They provide all that back office for the staffing clients. Will go into their systems, the TempWorks, and those larger systems that most temp staffing firms use, and help them with that back office piece.
That's the biggest objection as an agent that will hear that, hey, I'd like to use this kind of model to get the pricing on the workers' comp and some support, but I cannot upend, everything. So to have this as like a secondary option for those typically larger temp agencies, is a great selling tool, for an agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then a lot of the agents I work with, they're not really staffing specialists. They'll have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 in their portfolio. So just listening to Brian and Lee and Matt speak, at that meeting, they've got it all dialed in,
They do.
As far as the knowledge and the background, so that like I'm going to bring them in, to any of these accounts now on the front end just to shortcut it for my agent, which they've offered to do. So that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I'm going to have them on. I'm going to have them on next if I can't get Alex.
You should. That's a good second choice.
Yeah.
They really both do know their stuff and they really excel in that staffing lane.
And then you referred to something earlier to go a little deeper on that offshore nearshore model with Solvo. The good news, by the way, we have had Mark and Henderson on the podcast to speak, more in depth about that division. But if you want to kind of lay out how that went down and how it started, like right at a perfect time when COVID hit, so to speak, a couple of years before,
Right.
and then just took off. Like, what's going on with that, and what's the goals there?
Yeah, so we had our acquisition with Harbor America, and one of the Harbor America clients, Doug Lowry, had mentioned to Alex, I think you need to meet this guy. And so one day we were in the Chandler office in Arizona, and I was really getting irritated. I was like, why is Alex in this meeting so long? Because I need him and I got other things I need to get done. And what is he doing? And so he brings me in at some point and he introduced me to Guillermo and says, hey, and to Laura, and says, hey, they have what they call a nearshore outfit solution in Medellin, Colombia, called Solvo. And, Doug had really thought that it would be a great idea. That could be a solution for Vensure. And if you know Alex Campos long enough, you'll know that, once he finds something that's a very, very good, opportunity where he sees a lot of potential, he's going to want to join forces with you. And so, we were able to basically start our own Solvo, if you will, but we did it, in partnership with a client of Harbor's. And I'll tell you a little bit more, but it's kind of like the rest is history because it's really taken off. But we started with Vensure in late 2018. And we actually just started with payroll conversions. We had acquisitions like a Harbor, who was on a foreign platform, we call them foreign platform summit, and we needed to convert them to Prism. And so we needed some employees to be able to run parallel payrolls, right, to see if it was producing the same payroll the client was used to seeing, right? And the setup and everything was every deduction code, earning code, tax code, billing code, all that good.
Right.
So we started with like 40 people. Said, okay, let's go hire 40 people. We're going to train them on US payroll. That's not easy. US payroll has a lot of complexities, right? What's pre-tax, what's post-tax, what's taxable, what's local tax, what's state income tax, what's federal income tax, what's Social Security, Medicare. I'm not even sure, Eric, you know how to, state all those different taxes, right?
No,
No, not at all, right? So
I
that's
know like a few to suit it, that's it, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and you said it right. I had a client call me one time and say, "What's this Fuda Suda Duda thing?" And I just died laughing, like exactly. That's how I feel. And so we started training them, 40 people. And what we saw was they were thankful to have a job. They were ecstatic to work for a US company, and they were really willing to learn. And they were really willing to go beyond, maybe what you normally would get from a worker. And so we took that and we said, you know what, I think we can apply this to some of our other departments. So why don't we go to payroll tax? Why don't we go to benefits? Hey, how about accounting? By the way, accounting is really universal today. There used to be something for US accounting called GAAP and something for international called IFRS, but a lot of that has converged over the years because of the things we're talking about. A lot of clients who go international accounting standards, there's very little differences today from our small and medium-sized companies and even our size, that there's going to be a lot of differences accounting wise. So if I can hire an accountant in Texas where I sit, I can hire a degreed accountant in Colombia, Honduras, Guatemala. And so what I've found very quickly is the same things I just said: thankful to have a job, excited to work for a company in the US, and really willing to kind of roll their sleeves up and help out and innovate and make things more efficient. And so, I started with some simple things like bank reconciliations of how could I develop this accounting team of ours, that's down in Medellin, Colombia. And so as we, in 2019, having no idea COVID's coming, that we were going to get a push and start looking at every department. In fact, Zuby came to Chandler, Arizona, sat with every department and talked to them about what tasks you have that you don't have to be boots on the ground or maybe client facing, right? But that could help and support your department. We're going to start there. And as we started that, having no idea COVID was coming, by the time we hit February or March of 2020, we were at a couple hundred employees by then. And just by slowly just kind of going through each department. So each department said, well, maybe I could use 3 people. Maybe I could use 4 or 5. And I tell people, I'm pretty much a walking commercial for Solvo because I really, truly believe in it. Today, 55% of my accounting and finance staff is not in the US. And so, it's just a huge impact that there's a lot of different areas we can go to for solutions, for resources. And, it was such a savior for us during COVID because we had already built up the staff that we were training, and to really be able to sustain us through the time in which we didn't know how much our clients were going to lose. I know you lost clients. I remember you and I having conversations like, what was the bottom when we were going to hit bottom and go back up? COVID had a great rebound in terms of the economy, but we all were very unsure, right? We're watching the numbers. Do you remember I was sending all of you weekly numbers? What was happening in every division? I would spend every Saturday morning getting that report in and making sure I sent out personal emails to every single one of you so that you knew, how did last week look? What happened? How much did we lose? Did we lose? And so there's a lot of planning, but what that did was it really opened the doors for the Solvo solution, which as we sit here today, we started with 40 in 2018, and we have over 1,000 people just for Vensure that work for Vensure and our divisions. I know you have a great team as well down there for Insured Solutions. And so that has been, and then now we've expanded it out to clients. And I think we have you know, really with all of our solutions for outsourcing and BPO, we have like 30,000 employees. So Vensure is a very small portion of what it used to be when we started it from ground zero. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And then, yes, and then, we, as you remember, we had a large Indian outsourcing
You did,
team
right?
prior to the acquisition of Solvo. We slowly converted that over to Colombia, more of a nearshore option, just because of the relationship, and ownership of that. And so now they're doing certificates, they're doing entering submissions, scrubbing a submission to see what's missing. They know how to do an accord forms. They know how to read loss runs, do loss picks. They're trained now in the agency side, so that if you're an agent that hasn't seen the nearshore offshore podcast with about Solvo, definitely look that up to get more details of how maybe your agency could use that, because I was there recently on the trip with you and the other divisions, and it came from like the day one I got to meet them when I was converting my staff back in 2018 or so, 2019 to now. And now what there are two or three different offices that are high rises. I mean, you got a ton of staff now that are there, and then you made other acquisitions, right, in other countries.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, we're in Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, Argentina, Philippines, India, Malaysia. We're in so many different, and really the reason why we called it nearshore is because anything that's in our time zone, central or eastern time zone, is near shore to us. So like when you're in the India, we all know that's offshore because the time zone's so different, right? We have India, we have two big offices in India, one in North India and South India. And if I got that right, Trivandrum and Noida. And they have we have a lot of benefits employees over there. We have technology development. We have a full payroll processing, team as well. But they either have to work our hours, which is overnight for them, or they work, our overnight, which is their day for them. And that's the challenge, right? Is just being able to coordinate the times. Now, it's been a blessing on one hand because they've also been able to help us support our 24/7 initiative of being able to have call support. So if you have a client that needs help or needs something, we do have a 24/7 call support. So those further away countries that are really in an overnight or time zone, upside down issue, that's really where that's been able to help us with a 24/7 support line.
Absolutely. And I noticed the difference that I saw in my teams, in the agency side, is like with India, I never met any of the real underlying employees. I dealt with the management, right? And they kind of, if you had a problem, you just keep talking to the manager. With the nearshore, you really do get to, because they have English skill, you really do get to know each of them individually. And yeah, there's still management, but they still interact with you on teams and things, because the communication there in Latin America on the Colombia side is good. And like you said, an hour, time difference or so.
Exactly. And I think I would just add a couple things to that you just said that made me think of it. And that is one, that we do have a lot of, Hispanic and Latin American, companies and employees in the US who it's okay to have Spanish speaking, at Solvo. So that works out extremely well.
Right, it's California, Florida, New York.
Absolutely. We have that need, right? And so that's extremely helpful to not only and then your English speaking as well. Most people do use English as as a universal language, especially what I'm finding in these other countries. But they do really have it as kind of a, Spanish and English, together. So it does give us a lot of opportunity. Hey, if I need an English speaking because they're going to be client facing and it's not going to be in our Hispanic, clientele, then basically no problem. We've got that. And so I think I have found that to be one of the key things. The other thing you said about where you were at before is you were paying for a seat. And what I tell people is the real difference is you're getting a person. That person is on your team. That person should have your email address. And that way they feel a part of your team. Some seat you never knew, Eric, you never knew if that person was turned over 3 times or, whatever, right? like you said, you never developed a relationship. And that's what I think the Solvo difference is in the back office support. They should be part of your team. You're going to be much more successful. I always tell people you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And when somebody comes to me and complains, because there's bumps in the road, nothing's perfect. We go through life, nothing is perfect, right? Far from it. When it's not working out or that we're having struggles, if it's on the Solvo or nearshore end, I say, what have you put into it? Have you gone down there? Have you put in training? Have you really invested? Well, no, not that. You're going to get out of it what you put in it. Don't expect something magical to happen. It's not magical. Nothing's magical. It is hard work you put in to develop the right SOPs, the right SLAs. You gave them the tools and the resources you need. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well, but it is a tremendous help, when we've got that as a solution and an option for us.
Absolutely. I mean, and we, before when we had India, we never let them really email out to an agent or a client ever,
Right,
because
right,
of the communication piece or ever call anyone even. Now, we got it set where, but based on the English skill of the actual person, we've got them emailing, like you mentioned, with our email. Their writing skills phenomenal, and then also they're actually calling out usually to agents to help them, with a question or an issue, or if we're missing
right,
something, we can't be
right.
able to get it by email. So I can use those like normal, employees, so to speak, like in the US, as and have that offshore pricing, to help keep our P&L higher,
Right.
there. No,
Yeah, they're great solutions, right? Great economical
and
solutions.
agencies finally have come around, even smaller agencies, to have one, two, three, or
Yeah,
more, virtual assistants now. So that we can offer that to an agent, kind of back office to an agent or even their client, is really a good thing as well. And I know that you are very open to having folks go down to Colombia to meet, the talent there in person, since it's really about from Miami, like a 2 hour flight.
it's like a 2.5 hour flight. I'm in Dallas, so I take my 2.5 hour flight to Miami and then 2.5 or 3 to Medellin. I say seeing is believing. I smiled when you said that about people going down because I tell them seeing is believing. I haven't had one person go down there that doesn't come back and go, oh my goodness, I'm so impressed and I love it even more. You just get down there and you fall in love with the people. They're so very, just hospitable and kind and friendly, and they want to please. And, and that's just like a breath of fresh air, right? But seeing is believing. They're just great people, and, and they're on their team. They no different. They want to work, they want to please, like any other employee. They want to do a good job.
That
So
culture,
yeah,
yeah,
I do encourage people to go down.
you're getting that culture for free as part of the deal,
Yeah,
which you don't
exactly.
see that a lot of that in the US many times. It's hard to find
Right.
for the lower paid staff, especially
Yeah.
up there. And then I guess as we kind of wind up here, can you tell us a little bit about, without giving away the farm, direction with Vensure, where you want to take things, what's kind of the next step in growth, since you guys are the largest privately held PEO now, right?
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
what's
Yeah.
sort of the next stage, Vensure? What point O are we on now? 5.0?
Yeah, I think we're on 4.0. We're going to 5.0, I think, if I have it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're continuing to build out our global payroll. That is our focus right now. We're just continuing to expand in that and making sure we have, all the back office set up, all the processes, as you can imagine now. Esther and I are having conversations about all the different countries and the different, whether it's Europe or whether it's Asia or South America or wherever, right? And just being able to make sure that we keep everything flowing, it's sustainable, and we're being able to scale it. And so we're looking at an acquisition that is currently almost completed that we've been working with, that's going to kind of propel us to that, so that we can know, what's the good parts and the bad parts of trying to make sure that this all goes through seamlessly, and the tech platforms that go with that. And so really being a more global company is our focus. Like I said, we're in close to, 30 countries today. So they're operating that from a BPO standpoint, from a payroll standpoint. And now we want to be able to go global with the payroll. So really looking towards that is really our next goal. I think if I set myself from 2017, when I first, met you, I would not have even dreamed this is where we would be today in such a short amount of time. Alex has got the right vision kind of leading us. So, I think really we're looking to kind of just get, that fulsome, the insurance products with the centralized agency, the global and international solutions, the continued HCM platform products, the Canadian a platform that we've built out. And HCM will also actually house all of our global as well. We've built it to where we can input multi-country. And then also entertainment. I did not touch on entertainment. We have a full entertainment lane. And so that is really big for us. We've had 2 acquisitions that do, cast and crew and extras in terms of payroll. We've got a lot of big names in that. Netflix Canada. We have, we do all kinds of different things for, whether it's Disney or, I'm sure there's so many more that Billy Tenza and Chris King could talk about in Studio 101. They do all the 1883, 1923 filming and all that. So lots of things going on in entertainment as well. We built a full platform and technology for that lane. So there's just a plethora of, I just can't imagine you can't come to us and find the solution that you need, or like you said, the client or broker that called you the other day that need international, no problem. Vensure to be really your global HCM, your global payroll provider, kind of no matter where you are and where you're sitting.
Yeah, because the agents normally don't interact with like a very large provider like an ADP or Paychex. The clients do. So they have no concepts of
That's right.
how you can work with a firm like us now in insurance and expand that to these other areas of back office, to entertainment, to cannabis, to agriculture, ag business, to because of just staffing. You've got a lot of different ways now to interact with a very large organization like Vensure that used to be known as just this staffing PEO, and now it's this global powerhouse now. In a matter of 5 to 6 years, it's grown to that, because of Alex, you, and the backing as well, Stone Point and the other private equity groups that are part of the team. So anyway, congratulations again on your new role. I know you're going to be pretty busy, so I'm glad I caught you in the very front end of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
And I appreciate the time.
No, absolutely. It's been great being here. And I hope that really from this podcast today, you've seen that, there's a lot of things we're expanding into. There's a lot of opportunity. I would never not give, Vensure the opportunity, Insured Solutions the opportunity to solve, the needs of your clients out there, because we are really expanding into and already have, as you've seen, Eric, all the growth over the years. So there's lots of solutions, things we didn't even touch on, but, lots of industries we cover and specialize in, but then also just globally as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So after coming back from that conference recently, where we got to meet more of the team members, the new people, the new team members, you've gotten our sales folks really excited, about
Awesome.
this, as well as myself, and the growth and how this can now start to, especially with Dan coming in to help get the insurance side, which is, what we love, integrated into this whole model, which has been sorely needed, to make that happen, to have someone like Dan do it. That we know we're going to be able to really, put some growth on next year.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm holding you to it, Eric, to make sure that, you bring in the clientele that, you're looking to grow your business.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Kara. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And it's good having you on.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Thanks again for tuning in to Insurance Shop Talk. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest trends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Eric Stein, and this has been Insurance Shop Talk.